Before the flood, the world was different. The sky seemed darker, the mountains more colossal. Forests stretched across territories no modern man could truly imagine. Ancient civilizations slowly began to rise between deserts, valleys, and monumental rivers. Humanity still lived close to the origins of creation, but something was beginning to change. Ancient texts claim that during that distant age, part of the celestial beings watched humanity from above. Entities known as the Watchers. Beings described in the Book of Enoch as guardians sent to observe mankind. But over time, contemplation turned into desire, and desire into downfall. The heavens remained silent while something forbidden began to unfold. At the summit of Mount Hermon, 200 watchers descended to earth. Clouds covered the mountain peaks while lightning crossed the horizon during the night. Ancient records describe that moment as a covenant, a decision without return. Their leader was called Shemyaza, tall, imposing. Ancient garments moved beneath the freezing winds of the mountain. His eyes carried something that no longer seemed entirely celestial. Around him, the watchers observed the human world below. Primitive cities, distant fires, men walking across the earth unaware that something watched from the heights. And on that night, the watchers crossed the boundary between heaven and earth. According to the ancient texts, they began walking among men, and with them came knowledge humanity had never possessed before. Metallurgy, weapons, astronomy, architecture, enchantments, secrets of the heavens. The first great constructions began to rise. Furnaces burned through endless nights. Molten bronze illuminated ancient cities. Men began raising gigantic walls, temples, observatories, monumental structures impossible for civilizations so ancient. Knowledge advanced too quickly. But that would not become the worst consequence of the Watchers' fall, because then came the human women. Ancient accounts claim that the Watchers took wives among the daughters of men, and from that forbidden union, something was born. Something that should never have existed. The first Nephilims. At first, they appeared only as unusual children, larger, stronger. But as they grew, the world slowly realized that generation was not fully human. Years passed, and the Nephilims grew beyond any natural proportion. Giants walked among ancient cities. Their shadows crossed entire walls beneath the sunlight. Ordinary men appeared small beside them. Some easily surpassed 4 meters in height. The strength they possessed seemed impossible. Gigantic structures were moved like ordinary stones. Massive bronze gates were lifted by only a few colossal men. Civilizations began changing around them. Cities expanded. Wars increased. Fear spread rapidly among ancient peoples, because the Nephilims carried more than size alone. There was something deeply unsettling in their presence, as if part of the corruption of the Watchers had passed into that new generation. Ancient texts describe a growing hunger, violence, domination, pride. The giants began ruling entire regions. Some were worshipped as living gods. Others dominated entire civilizations through force. And as the Nephilims spread across the earth, the world itself seemed to begin deforming around them. The nights became unsettling. The skies remained heavy. Storms crossed the horizon with increasing frequency. Human civilizations advanced rapidly, but alongside them, corruption also grew. The Watchers continued observing, teaching, manipulating, guiding humanity further away from the original order of creation. Ancient records claim that men began forgetting the fear of heaven. Power became the new language of that ancient world. And at the center of that new era, the Nephilims walked as absolute rulers of the earth. Gigantic, colossal, nearly unstoppable. as if a hybrid generation had taken control of the world before the flood. And the more they grew, the more the world itself seemed to move slowly toward collapse.
The years passed, and the ancient world began transforming into something unrecognizable. Human cities no longer resembled ordinary civilizations. Megastructures rose between deserts and colossal mountains. Cyclopean pillars supported monumental temples. Gigantic stairways crossed fortresses built from stones impossible for ordinary men to move. Bronze dominated that world. Furnaces burned day and night. Entire rivers reflected the red glow of molten metal. And walking among those civilizations, the Nephilims observed everything as absolute rulers of the earth. Some peoples began worshipping them. Others lived terrified beneath their presence. The giants demanded food, tribute, servitude. Human armies began waging wars in the name of colossal rulers. Violence spread rapidly. Ancient texts claim that the earth itself began corrupting beneath the dominion of that generation. Blood spread across entire cities. Wars consumed entire regions. Pride dominated mankind. And the Watchers continued teaching. More weapons, more knowledge, more destruction. The nights of that world became unsettling. The skies remained heavy with constant storms. Lightning crossed the horizon above the gigantic cities of the giants. Violent winds moved through monumental temples, producing almost supernatural sounds between the colossal structures. And while humanity advanced in power, the world slowly lost its original order. Ancient texts describe a period in which violence had completely consumed the earth. The Nephilims hunted, dominated, destroyed. Ordinary men began disappearing within territories controlled by the giants. Entire civilizations started living beneath constant fear. And during that age, the name of the Nephilims began spreading across distant peoples. The Titans of Greece, the Jotuns of the northern lands, gigantic gods described by the civilizations of Mesopotamia. Fragmented memories scattered across the entire world, as if different cultures had preserved distorted echoes of that ancient pre-flood generation. And then, something even greater began to emerge. The first monumental civilizations of the ancient world. Gigantic cities built upon impossible knowledge. Structures aligned with the heavens. Astronomical observatories. Cyclopean temples. Megastructures that seemed to challenge time itself. Some believe Atlantis belonged to that era, a colossal civilization that emerged before the collapse of the ancient world. An empire built upon the same forbidden knowledge brought by the Watchers. But while mankind watched those civilizations continue growing, something began changing in the heavens. The storms intensified. The seas became increasingly violent. The climate itself seemed different, as if creation itself had begun reacting against the world the Nephilims had helped build. And then, according to the ancient texts, Enoch received the visions. While the world descended deeper into violence, Enoch walked far from the giant cities. The ancient records claim he witnessed the judgment approaching. The Watchers would be punished, the Nephilims would disappear, and the ancient world would be destroyed. But almost no one seemed capable of understanding what was approaching, because during that time, the giants dominated the earth. The cities continued growing. Men believed that power would never end, but the skies remained dark. The wind crossed the ancient temples with increasing violence. The oceans slowly began changing, and for the first time, fear began emerging even among the giants themselves. The entire world seemed to move towards something gigantic, inevitable, as if creation itself were preparing to erase that era from existence. The Watchers realized it too late. Forbidden knowledge had completely corrupted humanity. The giants had transformed the earth into a world ruled by violence, and now judgment approached. The seas began roaring. Storm clouds covered the heavens for entire days. Violent winds crossed the mountains as if announcing the end. And while the Nephilims watched the horizon darken, the ancient world slowly walked toward its final night. A colossal civilization, gigantic, powerful, but condemned from the moment heaven touched the earth. And perhaps the most disturbing part is realizing that nearly every ancient civilization preserved similar memories about giants that existed before the destruction of the world, as if the Nephilims had never completely disappeared from human memory, only buried beneath the forgotten ruins of a lost world before the flood. Some mysteries were never meant to be forgotten. Ancient civilizations, forbidden scriptures, lost worlds buried beneath history itself. What if the Bible contains secrets humanity still cannot fully explain? Welcome to Echoes of Revelation. Explore the unknown.